Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our English podcast. I'm Emma.
And I'm David. We hope you enjoyed our first episode about navigating your first day at work. Today, we're going to talk about something equally important: communication skills in the workplace.
That's right, David. Communication is key to success in any job. Whether you're speaking with colleagues, managers, or clients, being able to communicate effectively can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. We're going to discuss some essential communication skills, share tips on how to improve them, and go over some common phrases and expressions you can use. Let's get started.
To kick things off, David, what do you think is the most important aspect of communication at work?
I'd say listening. Often people think communication is all about talking, but listening is just as crucial. When you listen actively, you show respect and understanding, which helps build strong relationships.
I completely agree. Active listening involves more than just hearing words. It's about understanding the message, showing empathy, and responding appropriately. A good listener often uses phrases like, "I understand," "That makes sense," or "Can you tell me more about that?"
Exactly. Now, let's talk about speaking clearly and confidently. It's important to be articulate and to the point. This helps avoid misunderstandings and ensures your message is delivered effectively.
Yes, and speaking confidently doesn't mean you have to be loud or aggressive. It's about having a clear and calm tone, making eye contact, and using appropriate body language. A good phrase to use when you need clarity is, "Just to confirm, you mean," or "Let me make sure I understand."
Those are great tips, Emma. Another important aspect is nonverbal communication. Your body language, facial expressions, and even your posture can say a lot about how you're feeling and what you're thinking.
Definitely. For example, maintaining eye contact shows that you're engaged and interested in the conversation. On the other hand, crossing your arms might make you appear closed off or defensive.
Right. Now, let's discuss how to handle difficult conversations. We all face challenging discussions at work, whether it's giving constructive feedback or resolving a conflict.
One effective way to manage difficult conversations is to stay calm and composed. Use I statements to express how you feel without blaming the other person. For instance, "I feel concerned when," or "I noticed that."
And it's important to be empathetic. Try to understand the other person's perspective and acknowledge their feelings. Phrases like, "I understand how you feel," or "I see where you're coming from," can help de-escalate tension.
Those are excellent points, David. Another tip is to prepare in advance. Think about what you want to say and how you want to say it. This helps you stay focused and ensures you cover all the important points.
Great advice, Emma. Now, let's talk about communication in a team setting. Effective teamwork relies heavily on good communication. It's essential to be clear and concise, especially when you're giving instructions or sharing information.
That's true. And don't forget the importance of feedback. Providing and receiving feedback is a crucial part of team communication. It helps improve performance and fosters a culture of continuous improvement.
Absolutely. When giving feedback, be specific and focus on the behavior, not the person. Use phrases like, "I noticed that," or "It would be helpful if..."
And when receiving feedback, try to stay open-minded and not take it personally. Thank the person for their input and consider how you can use it to improve.
Now, let's discuss another important aspect: written communication. In today's digital age, a lot of our communication happens through emails, reports, and instant messages.
Yes, written communication is vital. It's important to be clear and concise in your writing. Avoid jargon and overly complex sentences. Proofreading your emails and documents before sending them can help prevent misunderstandings.
Absolutely. And always start your emails with a friendly greeting and end with a polite closing. It sets a positive tone and shows professionalism.
Right, David. And another thing to keep in mind is the use of proper grammar and punctuation. It may seem minor, but it can make a big difference in how your message is received.
Definitely. And when it comes to instant messaging or chat, it's important to be respectful of the other person's time. Use clear and direct language and avoid sending multiple messages for one thought.
Great point, David. Now, let's move on to some common communication barriers and how to overcome them. One common barrier is language differences.
Yes, in a diverse workplace, language barriers can be challenging. To overcome this, speak slowly and clearly and avoid using idiomatic expressions that might be confusing. You can also use visual aids or written communication to supplement verbal communication.
Another barrier is cultural differences. Different cultures have different communication styles, and what is considered polite in one culture might be seen as rude in another.
Exactly. It's important to be aware of these differences and adapt your communication style accordingly. Showing respect for cultural diversity can help build stronger relationships with your colleagues.
And then there's the issue of assumptions and biases. Sometimes we assume we know what the other person is thinking or feeling, which can lead to misunderstandings.
That's right. To avoid this, ask questions and seek clarification. Don't make assumptions based on someone's appearance or background. Treat each conversation as an opportunity to learn and understand.
Great advice, David. Now let's delve a bit deeper into active listening. Why is active listening often considered the cornerstone of effective communication?
That's a great question, Emma. Active listening is fundamental because it ensures that you are truly engaging with the speaker. It's not just about hearing words, it's about comprehending the full message being conveyed, both verbally and non-verbally. This means paying attention to the speaker's tone, body language, and even the context of the conversation.
Absolutely. And active listening can be particularly challenging in today's fast-paced work environments, where distractions are plentiful. So, how can we practice and improve our active listening skills?
One effective strategy is to minimize distractions. For example, put away your phone and close unnecessary tabs on your computer when you're having a conversation. Also, practice mindful listening by focusing entirely on the speaker and avoiding the temptation to plan your response while they're still talking. Instead, wait until they've finished before you start formulating your reply.
That's a great tip, David. Another useful approach is to use reflective listening techniques. This involves summarizing what the speaker has said and reflecting it back to them. For instance, you could say, "So, what I'm hearing is that you're concerned about the project deadline. Is that correct?"
Exactly, Emma. Reflective listening not only shows that you're paying attention, but also helps clarify any misunderstandings right away. It's also helpful to ask open-ended questions that encourage the speaker to elaborate on their thoughts and feelings. Questions like, "Can you tell me more about your experience with this?" or "How did that make you feel?" can be very effective.
And speaking of asking questions, let's talk about the importance of clarity and conciseness in our communication. David, why do you think it's essential to be clear and concise when speaking?
Clarity and conciseness are crucial because they help ensure that your message is understood correctly and efficiently. In a busy work environment, people don't have time to decipher vague or overly complex messages. Being clear and to the point helps avoid misunderstandings and saves everyone time.
Absolutely. And one way to achieve clarity is by organizing your thoughts before you speak. This can be particularly helpful during meetings or presentations. Having a clear outline of your main points can help you stay on track and ensure that your message is coherent.
That's a great point, Emma. Another aspect of clear communication is using simple and direct language. Avoid jargon and technical terms that your audience may not be familiar with. Instead, use plain language that everyone can understand.
And if you do need to use technical terms, it's a good idea to explain them briefly. For example, you might say, "We need to improve our SEO, which stands for search engine optimization, to increase our website's visibility."
Exactly. Now, let's move on to the topic of nonverbal communication. Emma, how important is nonverbal communication in the workplace?
Nonverbal communication is incredibly important because it often conveys more than our words. Our body language, facial expressions, and even our tone of voice can communicate our true feelings and attitudes. For instance, if you're giving a presentation and you're slouched with your arms crossed, you might come across as disinterested or defensive, even if your words are positive.
That's so true. And being aware of your own nonverbal signals can help you communicate more effectively. For example, maintaining an open posture and making eye contact can show that you're engaged and approachable. On the flip side, being aware of others' nonverbal cues can help you better understand their feelings and reactions.
Definitely. And it's also important to consider cultural differences in nonverbal communication. In some cultures, direct eye contact is seen as a sign of confidence and honesty, while in others, it might be considered rude or confrontational.
That's a great point, Emma. Being mindful of cultural differences can help prevent misunderstandings and foster a more inclusive work environment. Now, let's talk about handling difficult conversations. We touched on this briefly earlier, but it's such an important topic that it deserves more attention.
I agree, David. Difficult conversations are inevitable in any workplace, whether it's giving feedback, addressing performance issues, or resolving conflicts. One key to handling these conversations effectively is to stay calm and focused on the issue at hand, rather than getting emotional or personal.
Absolutely. Using I statements, as we mentioned earlier, can help you express your feelings without sounding accusatory. For example, instead of saying, "You never meet your deadlines," you could say, "I've noticed that some deadlines have been missed, and I'm concerned about how this affects our project timelines."
That's a great example, David. Another important aspect is to listen actively and empathetically to the other person's perspective. This can help you understand their point of view and find a mutually agreeable solution.
Right? And sometimes it's helpful to take a break if the conversation becomes too heated. Taking a few minutes to cool down can prevent things from escalating and give both parties time to collect their thoughts.
That's a smart strategy, David. Now, let's switch gears and talk about written communication. In today's digital age, a significant portion of our communication happens in writing, whether it's through emails, reports, or instant messages.
Yes, and written communication has its own set of challenges. One of the biggest challenges is ensuring that your message is clear and not open to misinterpretation. This is especially important because you don't have the benefit of nonverbal cues to help convey your meaning.
Exactly. One way to ensure clarity in your writing is to be concise and to the point. Avoid using unnecessary words or overly complex sentences. And always proofread your emails and documents before sending them to catch any errors or unclear phrasing.
That's great advice, Emma. And let's not forget the importance of a friendly and professional tone. Starting your emails with a courteous greeting and ending with a polite closing can set a positive tone and show respect for the recipient.
Absolutely, David. And while we're on the topic of tone, it's important to be mindful of how your writing might be perceived. For instance, using all caps can come across as shouting, and using too many exclamation marks can seem unprofessional.
Great points, Emma. Now let's discuss how to handle communication in a team setting. Effective teamwork relies heavily on good communication, and this includes both verbal and written forms.
That's right, David. In a team setting, it's crucial to be clear and concise, especially when giving instructions or sharing information. This helps ensure that everyone is on the same page and can work together effectively.
And providing regular feedback is also important. Feedback helps team members understand what they're doing well and where they can improve. It fosters a culture of continuous improvement and helps the team achieve its goals.
Absolutely. And when receiving feedback, it's important to stay open-minded and not take it personally. Feedback is meant to help you grow and improve, so try to see it as a learning opportunity.
Now let's talk about some common communication barriers and how to overcome them. One common barrier is language differences, especially in a diverse workplace.
Yes, language barriers can be challenging, but there are ways to overcome them. One strategy is to speak slowly and clearly and avoid using idiomatic expressions that might be confusing. You can also use visual aids or written communication to supplement verbal communication.
Another barrier is cultural differences. Different cultures have different communication styles, and what is considered polite in one culture might be seen as rude in another.
Exactly. It's important to be aware of these differences and adapt your communication style accordingly. Showing respect for cultural diversity can help build stronger relationships with your colleagues.
And then there's the issue of assumptions and biases. Sometimes we assume we know what the other person is thinking or feeling, which can lead to misunderstandings.
That's right. To avoid this, ask questions and seek clarification. Don't make assumptions based on someone's appearance or background. Treat each conversation as an opportunity to learn and understand.
Great advice, Emma. Now let's wrap up with some practical tips for improving your communication skills.
Sure. One tip is to practice active listening. Pay attention to the speaker, nod to show you're listening, and respond with appropriate comments or questions.
Another tip is to work on your body language. Maintain eye contact, use gestures to emphasize your points, and be mindful of your posture.
And don't forget to practice empathy. Try to see things from the other person's perspective and respond with understanding and compassion.
Also, take the time to improve your writing skills. Read books or take courses on writing, and practice writing emails and reports regularly.
Finally, seek feedback from others. Ask your colleagues or managers for feedback on your communication skills and use it to improve.
Those are excellent tips, Emma. We hope you found this episode helpful and that you can use these tips to improve your communication skills at work.
Definitely. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and leave a comment if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover.
See you next time.
Bye.